What?
Go down and then like pop up or something. Yeah. Hey, people. It's been, wow, since October. I'm here to tell my birth story because I know that people want to hear it, and I would love to share mine to help other people out there that maybe have had something similar happen. To have anyone feel that they're not alone would be great. And I just think it's an interesting story how it panned out. So, and this is the first time I'm bringing my husband on because he's much better at recalling details and whatnot. And this whole birth process, well, the labor and whatnot, was really kind of hazy at times. So, pop comes the husband.
Yes. Hello.
Look, I don't want to say your name. People know your name anyway. Don't say your name. It's fine. I don't want weirdos finding you because it's happened before.
Hello, everybody.
Hey. Well, I'm just going to launch into it. So, became pregnant March. Was it March? Yes.
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 Oh, we're going the whole story?
Well, I mean,
sweet.
not really,
right.
but I don't know. So I did the Women Picket DC thing, and there was a woman there that was a doula. And at the time, I was like, what in the world is a doula? So I found out then and there, and this was, when was Women Picket DC? 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years. 2020?
Yeah.
Was it really? No.
I don't know.
Oh, wait. 2021.
So if you would have told me like 3 or 4 years ago that I would even think about doing an at-home birth, I'd be like, you're insane, because I had the whole idea that that's just absurd. And I, in my head, was just, most people are very accustomed to hospital births. It's like the only thing I knew that to have a birth is just in a hospital. So when I heard about a doula, I kind of discovered more about that. Not at the time, but when I got pregnant, I was like, actually before I even got pregnant, we were planning on getting pregnant when we moved to Texas. Read a lot of books. Let's see, I wish I had them in front of me. Anna Mae's Guide to Childbirth. It's just like life-changing. It has all these women's birth stories of a natural birth. She has a it's called like On the Farm in Tennessee, just this whole location where women give birth naturally. Childbirth without fear. Dang, I wish I had it in front of me. Joseph Grant Dickley Reed something. It's a man that wrote this book, but his perspective and understanding of women is insane, and it blows my mind how much he knows women. It's incredible. So, obviously I read all these things about childbirth and fear because most of us have fear about it because you see all these movies. Whenever you talk to any woman about their birth story, it's like, oh, let me tell you when Shaniqua, it was a horrible story. She almost died and the baby, all you hear is horror stories. And honestly, Hollywood does a good job of freaking the F out of you, like scaring you about childbirth. Really, I think educating yourself and realizing that childbirth is one of the most natural things ever. Like God designed us women that way. Women have been giving birth naturally for God knows how long. So you really have to educate yourself because it is scary if you go into it not learning anything. So I did some Googling. I know you'll talk at some point, I promise, when we get to the hospital thing.
Question.
Yes.
Did you read any bad books? Things that you don't recommend, or things that we see in the books, they're like, oh, please stay away from that book.
I should. I'm going to have to put the books in the comments, or not the comments, but the description box, because I really want you guys to know the books that I read because they had a huge impact on me. No, I got a free one through my midwife that was okay. There's a lot about breath work, which is fine. That was a book I read in the week before I went into labor. So it was just like, why not? More information. Not that more information is always good. I just started Googling like Christian doulas, and I found this random website. I think there's like random websites that like aggregate information on like who starts these, who even runs this. It's bizarre. It's like really basic. But it had all these Christian doulas, and I contacted quite a few of them, and a lot of them didn't respond. One was like an older lady, and she's like, oh, I'm not in the business anymore. I found Sierra Morgan, total shout out, in the Austin, Texas area. I forgot what I get so confused with the practices of the like midwife and doulas because it's always like natural birth beginnings, and they're all like those are the 3 words that like natural birth places always use. So I can't remember, but look up Sierra Morgan. She's amazing, and her teammate Samantha. Forgot her last name. She's very professional, incredible. So a doula is someone who is like an emotional support person. Again, like as many books and movies I can watch and read about natural birth, it's still unbelievably beneficial to have someone there who's a professional with like just walking you through things because it can still obviously be scary, even though there are literal people out there, people, women, husbands and wives that give birth at home, like without any help, just themselves. Granted, most of the time they've done it with someone first, but anywho. So, you know, Sierra also runs a hypnobirthing class that is all about, how would you describe it?
Mindset.
Yeah.
I guess a whole mindset when approaching birth. And also, it's a bit of educational class, but more so about practicing relaxation techniques.
I actually thought it was
for the day of. And then I guess they cover like preparation, like things to have beforehand, little packs, things to prepare for the day of. But
I think it was amazing how much information they covered just about childbirth that, you know, most husbands have no clue because they're not a woman, obviously, and men can't give birth. So I think it was really beneficial for a husband to be there during these classes. I'm like, if you're having issues with your husband and he's like, I don't want to, oh, why do I need to listen to that? I'm like, make him do it because I think he'll wind up liking it and learning something and being, you know, more educated and not as also in fear. So that was great. And also it sounds like it's hypnosis because it's like hypnobirthing. It's not, I mean, if you look up what hypnosis actually is, I think it is putting your mind in a certain place. So I mean, it's not like you're getting sleepy.
No, it wasn't like that. I thought that too, but
Yeah,
it's different. It's more like practicing relaxation techniques and listening to things like audio or music that is relaxing so that when you have waves that are coming on.
What are waves?
Contractions, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Listening to those things to put you in a hypnotic like state. So you're not so much focused on discomfort.
Yeah.
And then the other thing about the class is it tries to reframe things would change the terms instead of saying pain, saying discomfort, and saying contractions, saying waves, so that it doesn't add anxiety or fear to the woman
negative connotations
as it's coming up, as you're preparing yourself. So it's the term hypnobirthing, I guess, is because it's patented or something, or there's like something about it. That's
if you hire someone that is a hypnobirth specialist, make sure I'd say that they're certified, and it's the Marie Mongan method because that's the woman that founded hypnobirthing. And you know, I mean, there's other people that claim they teach hypnobirthing, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think it's misleading because I downloaded a Christian hypnobirthing audio app, and I don't think she's certified because she's doing her own hypnobirthing. It's not bad. Like so the hypnobirthing, that the information that she gave us, like audio tracks, are like affirmations, like positive phrases like, this is natural. My body's doing what it's supposed to do. I wish I had them in my head what they were because they were really good. I'm visualizing the birth canal of fleshy pink. Some of it sounds weird. I'm making it sound more weird than it is. I think that helps out immensely. And the Christian one has like Bible verses, which I think is amazing. It's like we had so much prep ready for the laboring at home, which I did do, but then I'm like totally jumping ahead here.
Yes.
The laboring was so intense. I didn't implement any of it. So anyway, let me rewind though.
Well, let's take a step back. The course was actually a requirement as part of hiring Sierra and Samantha. So,
which kind of could be seen as like scammy, like, oh, you want to spend more money, but at the same time, I think she knows what I know she knows what she's doing, and I think you guys get on the same page when you do take her class. So. I think it's entirely worth it.
It makes her job easier.
Totally.
Days leading up to it and the day of, when the waves start happening, like, and she shows up, it saves so much time for her, and she doesn't have to explain to you. Okay, now put your mind into this stage. Now listen to this music.
Yeah, because you might be like, "What is this lady talking about? I'm scared." What? Or just.
I think
not knowing.
It's useful for her to make it as a requirement because you take it's an online class. There's like 6 courses, I think, over the period of 6 weeks. And you take it with other people online. With her, she describes a lot of things.
You mean online as in like a Zoom class?
Was it Zoom?
Yeah.
I can't remember
what I know. Because we did so much.
I think it was Zoom. But it saves her time, saves Samantha time in case either Sierra or Samantha show up. they'll be able to tell you with one word what to do, and then you just do it. And then if they're trying to do some sort of sideline release, or if they're doing some sort of poses, then you kind of know what they're trying to do.
Even when you're out of it.
And especially, they just want to make sure that in the moment you're focusing on the baby and the delivery of the baby.
Yeah. So anywho, let's move on because there's so much crap to talk about. Not crap,
so stuff. Where do you want to? So prep was good. I think prep was good.
So she also has like placenta encapsulation, where afterwards she gets the placenta and turns it into little capsules that I take that has incredible health benefits, which I'm sure people that have no idea about are like, ew, what the F? That's just, I'm like, dude, you have no, just look it up. I promise you, it's really beneficial. And also she can make tinctures. And I was like, yes to all of it. This is my first birth. I want to go all out. I never spend money on myself. Do it. Yes. And then there's an optional that they'll come for an extra session afterwards, which thank God I chose that because that was so beneficial when Samantha came. I really needed it. So I also got connected to I have a friend, shout out, best friend, Ashley in Georgia, who I learned about the whole pregnancy resource center through her. And I was like, I just looked it up. So Agape PRC Pregnancy Resource Center is in Round Rock, Texas, but they have a mobile unit that you can go get tested with to find out if you're pregnant or not. They do an ultrasound. They can pray with you, give you all these resources free, baby blanket, little like Bible book or something, like baby's first Bible or something. They're really professional. It was like an amazing RV, like a total medicalized, clean RV that is mobile and nearby. I went late though, so they couldn't do the ultrasound because it was too late or something. And they also find out, because this is like for low income people as well. I mean, they don't discriminate. Like Agape is like anybody can go. Like if I don't have to be a certain income level to get their benefits. Honestly, I feel like with one income in America nowadays, I don't, because I started to feel bad. I'm like, am I taking benefits from people that really need it? I'm like, no, like we are under one income here, even though it's cheaper here than California. But they were so freaking nice. Confirmed that I was pregnant, obviously. They also asked like domestic violence issues, like abuse, like, is it, I forgot how they phrase them, but they don't ask like, is anyone beating you up at home? It's more like, I'm not sure how to describe it, but I was like, no, I know to all that. So I already knew I was pregnant, by the way. I think you have to go get checked through the RV first to get the benefits like in their store. So Agape has a little like mommy store. I don't know, they don't really have a name for it, but I think most resource centers have like a clothing, formula, diapers, like everything baby related that you can spend mommy bucks at. So Agape has this thing called Bright Course that you watch educational videos on their website that they send you links of like, here's these subject matters. You click into them and you watch a video, you answer questions about them. And the person at Agape calls you after you've done like 3 or 5 of them, goes over the questions, tell you which one you got wrong. Not like, you messed up, you get a demerit, fail. They just let you know what was the correct answer. They'll pray with you if you want to be prayed over, which you can obviously decline if you're uncomfortable with that. But I'm always like, yes. They are a Christian group, but they don't force it at all. Like only if you're open to it. It's not like push down you even remotely. I don't think it's obvious at all that they're like, it's just not, it's not abrasive. Like, like some of the Yelp reviews are like, this place is terrible. Go to Planned Parenthood instead. I'm like, okay, like these are two polar opposites. Yeah. Planned Parenthood kills babies. Yeah. I'm like, is this allowed to say on YouTube? I don't even know anymore. It's fine because my strikes get removed and then it like refreshes. So I think I'm on 0
They
now.
escort babies into another world. A world of tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. I mean, that's sad. I'm moving so fast that I'm picking up on the words that you said instead of what I want to say. Anyway. So yeah, the mommy bucks thing is awesome because when I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I'm at home and I had all the time to do that. So I rack up the mommy bucks, get like clothing and stuff there. Anyway, so yeah, the whole pregnancy was fine. How I found the midwife.
Yeah.
I also wanted to find a Christian midwife and I did. Sandra Stein Allbear. She has like 2 last names. She's also in Round Rock. She's awesome. She's been in this business for years. Like,
why did you need a midwife and a doula? Sure
well, the midwife is like the doctor lady who knows, you know, doctor stuff. Because I wanted the emotional support, like 100%, because
from the doula.
Yeah, okay. Doula.
And
the midwife is like the doctor.
Oh, yeah,
that's
essentially
necessary.
like your medical.
I don't even know if doulas would come without a midwife. I don't know. Maybe it depends on the doula. For Sierra. Yeah. So yeah, Sandra's awesome. You know, I saw her once a month until like the end. You see her more frequently. Like it's closer to the date. Let's see. Yeah, there was no issues with any of the pregnancy. I started doing a water fitness class at the local YMCA with like literally grandmas, like old ladies.
For fitness.
Yeah, because I was so paranoid. Like I know I have a friend that did like cycling on the road up until like 8 months until she stopped because she almost got hit by a car. Yeah. I was all paranoid about like miscarriage. I know miscarriage happens or can happen is much more likely with the first couple of months or something. And after that, I think you're kind of in the clear, I believe. But I was still so like, oh my God, first baby. I'm older. I don't want anything to happen. So I'm like, I'm not going to do any vigorous workouts even remotely. So I'm like, let's just do grandma stuff. So that was interesting and fun.
Why did we go with the delivery center?
Why did we go with it?
Why didn't we?
Oh,
remember that?
So originally, before I found I did some research and found a couple of midwives and the Austin area. It's called like ABC, Austin Birthing Center, which is like really well known. And if you want to do a birthing center, I think most people pick that one, even though there's one in Georgetown that looks amazing, and I'm highly considering that one. Maybe not.
Nice.
Yeah,
we found it much later.
Freaking nice.
Yeah, we found it like.
I was like, wow, it's also further away, but so we got a tour of the Austin Birthing Center. You know, on paper it looks nice, like very professional. They obviously know what they're doing, but the second half was like very focused on money, which I guess isn't a bad thing, but it also kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, everyone had to wear masks, whereas Sandra doesn't care about masks. In Texas, like, it's not when you go to a hospital or something, sure. Or the ultrasound, sure, which is also freaking annoying because Ashley went to her ultrasound. They didn't make her.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, so much. I forgot about all this stuff, man. You know, the lady was talking about the lady that was talking about the birthing center, the tour. She was like, "Don't tell anyone, but I'm about to leave this place like in a month." And I was like, "What?" Like in a way that's like, "I'm out of here." I'm like, that's kind of a red flag. Like, why is this lady leaving? And for her background was she did the natural birthing thing at home, not in a birthing center. So she went from like, you know, extra country at home birthing to a more, I would say more formal. Hospitalized. Like the birthing center has much more hospital tactics, and I don't even know what.
They have some certifications from the state and federal certifications they need to uphold, and because of that, there's a lot of things and procedures that they are required to do, and a lot of them that they're not allowed to do. So some things that would be easing stress on the baby or easing stress on the mother, they can't do. Like spinning the baby, I think they don't do spinning the baby. They have to remember that. You have to go to the
What is
hospital.
Spinning the baby?
So in case it's rotated towards or away from your spine.
What are those things called? Yeah.
Yeah. If they're not on the prime position and they would
like breech.
Yeah, breech. They are not allowed to do the spinning or rotating of the baby.
Whereas my midwife, well, here's the thing. So I didn't even get to that. So halfway through seeing Sandra, there's this other lady. Well, it was confusing because we would go and like, oh, it's not Sandra. It's a lady called Yolandi. And I realized that she was brought on board for like temporarily as another midwife because Sandra was needing extra help. And then it got to a point where Yolandi was like, I'm going to be the one that is at your birth. And I was like, cool. Actually, I preferred her. Yolandi's younger. I thought she was cooler looking. Sandra's much older. I hate to say it, but pretty overweight. I mean, not that that matters, but I'm like, shouldn't someone be fit if you're, I mean, I don't know how that matters really. It's just, unfortunately, I judge people by their appearance then, and I really shouldn't have. Oh, also, she said Sandra got snappy about my doula filling out some paperwork, and I know it's possible where a midwife and a doula cannot get along, and to have that kind of stress when you're giving birth is like hell to the no. So in my mind, I was like, uh-oh, she's already getting snappy about Samantha. I want to switch over to Sierra. which was dumb because it was just, I was misinterpreting it, honestly, I think. Sandra's great. I literally have nothing bad to say about her, even though that thing happened. It wasn't,
Sandra was nice.
Yeah.
Was really nice.
Yep. Totally regret. Well, I don't live with regrets, but I wish I would have gone with Sandra. I'm a moron because the reason why I chose Sandra is because she's a Christian and Yolandi's not a Christian. So I'm like, why did you even do that, Lindsay? What the F? What's wrong with you? You literally went against what you literally were looking for. But again, I'm like, well, anybody can fill this position. I don't have to just not discriminate, but I mean, it was my preference, but I'm like, I liked Yolandi. I think she's just as professional. I didn't wind up preferring her as much though, because she was mentally, I'm not sure how to explain it.
We can get to that as well. So in short, ABC was not a good fit for us.
I forgot to finish that. So the birthing center, not only make you wear masks, they make you wear masks. The lady was like, I'm effing out of here. She didn't say it like that, but it was definitely I'm out of here. And I talked to Sarah about that. She's like, oh my God, I've heard them say that. Someone else said that.
Somebody else mentioned it.
It could have been me. She just forgot. But anyway, there was massive ants in the lobby. And I mean, frigging massive. First impressions have a huge impact on you. And it just, I'm soaking up all the things while I'm there. And I'm all over the ceiling, behind me.
I thought there were beetles. They were the size of beetles. They were massive ants. I was like, how do you get ants in... Oh, hello.
It's fine. It happens.
How do you get ants in your lobby that are that size? You have a food source, you have an ant's nest somewhere. It's a delivery place. I don't want my baby to be covered in ants.
This is how we get ants.
You deliver a baby, and I was like, where'd the baby go? And it's being carried away by some group of ants. I'm like,
do not want.
I'm sleepy as it is, and trying to track of a baby with an ant group. Yeah, great.
And then the icing on the cake that really, afterwards I kind of digested it. Well, at the time I'm like, I'm so tired of I'm in that whatever trimester now. I was tired. I'm mentally, exhausted. I'm like, let's just go with this. Whatever. I found something that's crunchy and more what I wanted. But then I'm like, do you guys have a recommendation for a doula? Because I didn't have one at the time at the front desk. They gave me a piece of paper with all these doulas on it. And 90% of them had pronouns and she, her, and they, just demonic. And I was like, ugh, I literally didn't pick a single one off that. It was just a whole combination of things where I'm like, didn't feel good about it. And they charge you $20 to run your credit card to make sure.
Just to say hello. $20 to say hello to them and to have a tour. It wasn't even a tour.
No, you don't pay. It's not. You're not paying for the tour. They're you have to. They make you scan your credit card and they charge $20 to make sure it goes through. I guess they have issues with people not having money. I don't know. So I spent $20 for no reason. Yeah, exactly. So my friend Ashley was like, "Dude, you need to be really sure about what you pick. You can't have any. Oh, I don't know about this because it will come up during labor. Guarantee." Yeah.
If you're not sure now, you'll be sure later, and it will bite you. And that's what it caused us to start looking for a doula.
Yeah, baby's crying. Doesn't need boob bottle. Yeah.
This is how we get ants. It does? I'm trying to plug in my phone and it doesn't do anything.
Okay, anyway, where were we? Resuming.
Okay. We were talking about, so ABC was a bad fit, and that's when we started looking for
Sandra. I had already found her, but I was like, all right, let's go with her. And I did. I felt very prepared mentally. I read all these books, took these classes. A lot of the Agape classes or, the Bright Course classes were really great. Because I didn't know anything about childbirth. I never really babysat kids growing up. Was never comfortable even holding a baby at all, ever. I'm like, what is this? What? Even though I have plenty of nieces and nephews. It was just not a natural thing that came to me. But once I got pregnant, it definitely, the maternity or the maternal instinct thing is in full force and getting more comfortable with it. So I felt prepared.
There were no issues medically. Every checkup was everything normal.
Yep, nothing abnormal.
Heart rate was normal.
We did all the tests. I guess people think that midwives aren't very medical. I'm like, no, they bring everything to a labor that they almost not everything, but a lot of stuff they would have at like a hospital anyway. Like if I were to tear down there, they would, you know, sew me up. You know, they have, I think they also have Pitocin, you know, stuff like that.
They have other ways of inducing labor without.
I don't think the Pitocin was for that though. I think it was for something else, like stop hemorrhaging or something.
Yeah, that was for later.
Anywho, so you know, what is it? How many weeks is it again? I can never remember like how many weeks when you're supposed to give birth.
Well, the due date was 40.
December 8th.
Yeah. December 8th, and then it came and gone, and we went like another
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I was
2.42 and
something days over.
3, I think.
Yeah,
that's where you were. And we were supposed to get some Italian. What was it?
The eggplant parmesan. So apparently, if you have eggplant parmesan, it can help or literally induce labor.
Apparently, yeah.
Including, and there's a restaurant in Georgia that used to, you know, promise and guarantee that if you eat our eggplant parmesan, you will definitely go into labor, and if you don't, you'll get your money back and you can try it again or something. But they apparently closed down. Maggiano's, no, Scalini's, Maggiano's. I can't remember which one it was. You have to look it up, Google it. So we got it, eggplant parmesan at a local Italian place and other Italian food. Well, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So let's see. I didn't have any Braxton Hicks or anything, which is like practice contractions or waves that happen usually like a week before, or some women even say it's like a month before. It's just different. Every woman's pregnancy and labor birth story is so unbelievably different. It's insane how different they all are. So, you know, it's getting to a point where it's my midwife, Yolandi, was her experience. Women that go over a certain date, I forgot what she said, wind up having, where I think I'm saying this right, the top of the baby's head calcifies or something, or starts to harden, and it's harder for it to go through the birth canal at a certain date. Yeah. So some lady that went like a little bit, couple of days past my due date, or I mean, sorry, the time, you know, 2 weeks and a couple of days, like this lady that she experienced was 2 weeks and like maybe 5 days, I don't know, where she kept trying, you know, the baby would go down the birth canal, and I forgot what happened. Either it was I don't think it was painful. Something happened where it just would not progress any further, and Yolanda kept having to push the baby back up there. Maybe it was heart rate or something. So she had to get a cesarean, I believe, because of the calcification. If I think I'm saying that correctly, sorry. Yeah. So, you know, it was approaching that kind of date where that, and her experience is not great. So she came over and did a membrane sweep on the Friday, which is intimidating because one of my small group ladies was like, oh my gosh, I had a membrane sweep. It freaking hurts. So I'm like, great, going into that, being like, this is going to hurt. You know, mentally being like, all right, like they friggin' shoved their hand up you far to the point where she can touch the baby's head and basically, can you sweep with, like, I guess I can do it. Sweep with their hand to release the placenta from the wall, something.
It's pretty far if they touched the placenta. I thought it was just like a little membrane. Like releasing it. You
gotta look it up. Like literally Google membrane sweep. I would like write down the timestamp so I can put an image up. I'll have a notepad or pen in front of me, whatever. I hate being like, look it up, because no one's gonna look it up. It's really painful, I'd say. I don't like, of course, using that word, but it's maybe not painful is the word. It's just feeling something up there is like freaky. Knowing someone's that close to your unborn baby is also freaky.
Saying hello for the first time.
Yeah, and she's like, I got to touch it before you. I'm like, it didn't bother me at all. I guess obviously it feels invasive, even though I agreed to it. But she also came over and was like kind of hurried and like wanted to get out of there or something, which doesn't make me feel great. Not the end of the world, but I don't mind it being hurried because I'm like, yeah, let's get it over with. But you know, she went up there and I'm like, she's obviously like, if you can't handle, she's not how she worded it. If it's bad or whatever the word she used, just, you know, tell me to stop. It's totally fine. And so it got to a point where I'm like, dude, let off. Like,
too much.
It's intense, man. It is like a lot of pressure and just, it feels weird because I've never felt pain in that area. So it's just bizarre. It's the same thing with when they drained my ear. Like sticking things where things just don't go unless it's a baby. Oh, okay. What?
Yeah.
Baby's down here. So she didn't quite get enough of the sweep, and she was like, I can go back in, as you know, you're gonna have to like deal with the feelings because childbirth is gonna be a lot of feelings like this, if not more. I was like, that's a good point. You know, we just took a breather. She was very nice about all this. Nothing was forced even remotely. You know, she basically pulls her hand out and has some like, I don't know, it's not like liquidy blood. It's like gelatinous kind of
like discharge.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like,
but it's like red. So I'm not sure how to explain it. It's on her glove, which is good because that's what she's, I guess, sweeping.
Yeah.
So she went in again, and it's still painful. But she's like, I can be really quick, and she was quick. And she was like, that was really good. I got more that time. So I'm like, whew, that is freaky, and like it got really hot because I just get like nervous, and it's bro, it's. Maybe I'm a wuss. I don't know. It's not horrible, but again, it's just like, good God, man. Anyway, so I was glad it was over. So I thought for sure I would go into labor that night because I know membrane sweeps really jumpstarts things, but not always. So that night, I think I started feeling some waves. Or actually, that whole week prior, I started having like pressure in my butt, like my butthole, like where I'm like, I gotta go poop, but I don't have to go poop. So I get on the toilet and nothing comes out. And I'd be walking and it just feels like heavy down there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, something's going on down there. Kept being like, oh, tonight. Nope. So that night it didn't happen. Hair in the face. The next day, I think around like, God, I can't honestly remember when it started. It was like earlier in the day though. Started
6?
feeling, no, I thought it was even earlier.
Earlier than that?
Remember we were watching Love Actually, and it was before that though.
So before
like
or after
in
we
bed?
had dinner. I had to go to pick up dinner at the Italian place.
I know. You know what? Oh my God, where's my notebook? It's in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go get it? Because I wrote notes down. I think it'd be really nice to hear.
Yeah, let me go.
Okay, so I wrote down my symptoms because I'm like, I got time. Like, maybe I'd like to look back on this, and here we are. So December 8th, I wrote down dull anus pressure, needing to poo. December 9th.
I remember those.
Dull lower feeling. Hi.
It's like, I remember those pressures.
Under the bump. Caused by red raspberry tea? Question marks. I know that red raspberry tea can give you contractions or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, red raspberry tea. I definitely recommend it. There's all sorts of holistic homeopathic stuff that you can do to help out your labor, like eating 6 dates a day at 34 weeks on. It helps like strengthen your uterus. Fascinating stuff. Literally, it's been proven to. December 10th, needing to poo, dull lower abdomen feeling, almost like period dullness. Happened after red raspberry tea. Easier to breathe when laying to sleep. Oh, right, because the baby sits at a certain level in your belly area, and it's at some point it started putting like crazy. I'm not sure how to explain it. Like, I feel like all my insides are being pushed up through my throat, and it's really weird to breathe. And it's
hard to breathe for you.
It feels so awkward. And I know that when the baby starts dropping or lowering, it gets easier to breathe. And I was like, oh, it's happening. I can actually breathe better at night. So December 11th, nausea picked up, comes and goes through the day, sudden urge to poo, but not a lot comes out. Quick, sharp prick pain in lower belly. It's so funny because I don't remember any of this. I mean, I do, but some of it I'm like, I don't remember that. That's why I'm glad I wrote it down. December 12th, dull lower abdomen pain, needing to poo. This is like a daily occurrence, obviously. Nausea from it, question mark. Evening butt waves. It's the only way to describe it. And a lot of women talk about butt waves. Yeah, where I'm walking and I'm like, whoa. Like
what? Like muscles are moving or like contracting or?
It just feels like heavy down there.
Oh, so like sudden heaviness?
Yeah.
So maybe the baby's
trying to remember it. Yeah. Huh. Intense feeling to go poo. This is like, obviously.
This is a week out, by the way, I think.
Yeah, December 12th.
Okay.
Diarrhea, but nothing came out. It feels like diarrhea. Like, if you know that feeling you have when, like, in your lower area where you feel like you have diarrhea and you let it out and you're like, oh, which is really gross, but this is, had that feeling, but no diarrhea. Because I know that you can have diarrhea, like, kind of right before you go into labor because your body's clearing out and getting ready. Who did?
Yeah.
He did. Short, dull backache came and went as I was making cookies. 10:30 p.m. I just tried to keep myself distracted, obviously, because I'm like, I don't want to freak out. December 13th, dull pressure on lower area, nausea slightly. He's like, that's bright. What the heck?
Yeah, that was I didn't know you were having that many different like side effects.
Yeah. December 14th, midwife appointment. Yeah. Okay. She said it was 70. I was 70% effaced with no dilation. Effacement is when, oh Lord. How do you describe it?
What?
I can't remember what I'm like, how do you describe it?
Like lowering. It's lowering without the dilation. So
yeah.
It just lowers
it's
past like some part of your.
Yeah. Something near the dilation, it like opens with it. This is the worst description. Anyway, she attempted the membrane sweep, no success because not dilated. Oh, right. That was okay.
That was our appointment.
Oh, right. That was, I forgot about that. She attempted the membrane sweep maybe a couple of days before at the birthing center, and it didn't work because it wasn't dilated enough. You know, there was like it was freaky because she pulled her hand out and her glove was like red. And I'm like, but that's normal. After that, Pat had slight blood on it after appointment. 8 out of 8 ultrasound. Good. We got an ultrasound just to make sure the baby's okay in there because it was past the, you know, quote due date, which due dates are always estimates. It does not mean that's when the baby's gonna come, even, you know, slightly. Like, I don't know the percentage of women's due dates when the baby actually arrives that day. I don't think it's not that common at all. So don't as much as my story wound up being not ideal, I don't think you should freak out if it goes past it.
Well, percentage of women who are induced on their due date is 100% delivery.
A lot of women get induced like in the hospital like 37 and 36 weeks, which is bizarre. I'm like, let your baby go to its natural course. I think it's really lame when women are like, I'm impatient, let's get this over with, let's just start it. I'm like, what the hell? You're literally cheating like the natural process. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's any excuse for it personally. Which it could be the doctor being like, yo, let's get this going. Like, I got a golf tournament this day. Like, we're just I know some hospitals are good, like the one I wound up going to, sadly, spoiler. But a lot, actually, I'm not sure the amount, I can't confirm, but I know they exist where they're like, oh, you need a cesarean because blah, 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 like total BSing you. You're a random baby. Yeah. You want a bottle or something?
I don't know.
I know, I'm distracted. December 15th, 1:24 p.m. cramps, needing to go poo, pumped at 9:30 p.m. Oh, so you can stimulate, what is it? Start the contraction labor process by using a breast pump, which is fascinating to me. So I started pumping at 9:30 p.m. And you can get, like period cramps while pumping. So she was like, don't be surprised. And I definitely did. I got intense period like cramps near lower belly during it. December 16th, I was 1 centimeter dilated. Yolandi did a membrane sweep. That's the one I brought up earlier, where I was like, that's intense. I mean, the first one was intense, but the next one she did I was like, oh, I think more intense, possibly.
Yeah.
You want to hold them?
Yeah, I can hold them.
Or take the, okay, definitely have to edit this out. He's not going to be on here.
Yeah. Social media baby. Green screen baby.
Good Lord, I was like dying of thirst.
This is going swimmingly.
I knew it was going to be like this. It's fine. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of edits in this because obviously I have a baby. I am so professional.
This ant blur. Why is it blurring us?
I don't know. Whenever I move,
it's hard for the camera to focus.
When it rains, it pours. He's like, I remember this. Welcome to the show, y'all.
It's a family circus.
It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Okay. Pump for 2 hours. Okay, yeah, Yolandi was like, if you start getting crampy when you're using the breast pump, keep going. She said go. So I went for 2 hours. Got a little crampy from 3 to 5 p.m. December 17th. So this is the day before it all went down. Cramps throughout the night, every 3 hours. Short, lost the mucus plug. Wait, this is the night before, the morning of. So this is when the labor started.
You made notes the morning of?
This isn't morning. This, this is the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went into labor on the 17th, technically.
At night, yeah.
Yeah, so this is when I started going labor. I actually took notes. Cramps through the night. Or maybe that's the night before. Hold on, wait. Whatever. Every 3 hours, short, because there's an app you can download to time the waves. Slept until 9, ate breakfast, slept until noon, pancakes and 2 eggs, went on a walk for 30 minutes. Oh shit, I said your name. Rested and felt waves come closer together and stronger, and that's where it left off on the 17th.
Notes and there.
So I guess the last time I slept until noon, so yeah, I think it was afternoon. We started watching Love Actually. Was that the 17th or that night? I think it was that night. Yeah, it was. We were watching Love Actually that night because, well, not because, I remember that because there's a thing called a TENS unit that it's like these little pads that he put on my back at a certain, weren't they like this? Or is that the CPR thing?
Yeah, top and bottom. So top between the shoulder blades and one that goes to almost to
your butt crack, right above your butt crack. Yeah. So it's like a electric pulsating thing that's supposed to kind of help combat your contractions. I'm going to use the word contractions because I don't know if people remember that waves are contractions. And it really did help my early contractions where I'm like, oh, this is fine. Like, this is, I'm going to be able to do this with the breeze. Like, not bad. You just, whenever you get a wave, you crank up or you press, it's just whatever. It's
like a boost button or something. Yeah.
This is something that my doula lent out to us. And yeah, I was wearing that and watching the movie and pressing that as they came. I was like, all right, I'm able to do this. Basically, we went to Hawaii years ago, and I had horrific menstrual cramps. It was probably a cyst something that happened on the flight there. It was awful, and it came in waves. And I was like, I'm curious if childbirth is as bad as that was. It was worse. It was that bad. So when I was using it's called a TENS unit. During the movie, I was like, oh, this kind of feels like the airplane. So I'll be good. I knew it was going to pick up from there, but I didn't know it was going to pick up like how it did. So it started picking up, and I think we finished the movie. I tried to do dinner, and I was not that hungry at all. Even though I could tell. I feel like there were so many false starts that I thought it was happening that at that time I still didn't know it was actually happening. Like I'm going into labor. Because you feel these new sensations for like a week, and I'm like, is this, I don't know, am I overreacting? I don't know, I'm just going with it. So yeah, we finished the movie, tried to do dinner. I think it got to a point where I was like, this is getting really intense. The TENS unit, I'm not even feeling anymore. So we took that off and called my midwife, and she was like, I think I'm going into labor. Can you come over? She was like, well, let's do a test where we have a conversation. If you're able to carry a conversation with me, it's not that intense that I don't need to come over just yet. And I'm not disagreeing with that at all. Like I wanted to do as much laboring at home as I could because I know that labor can go on for like 2 days. I know that I'm paying for these services of the midwife and the doula, but at the same time, I don't want them to be drained and not be able to do their job. So I was like, let me do as much as I can at home. There's nothing wrong with that. Plus I learned to feel empowered and experience it. So, I was of course on the phone with her. I was able to carry on the conversation, but as soon as I got off the phone with her, like I could not carry a conversation on with you or anything. So I think I called her again, or no, same phone call. She was like, get in the tub, because it can apparently like ease your waves to where you can get some more sleep because it was getting late at night, I believe, and she wanted us to be able to sleep some more. Isn't that what it was?
Yeah, it was like 11 p.m.
Yeah, and I think in her experience, most women give birth at like
a.m.
3 or 4. Yeah. So she was like this sounds bad. Not that she's trying to stop the labor from happening. It is a known thing that you can get in the bathtub and like ease or slow down the contractions, which to me was weird because I was like, why am I trying to slow it down? Why are we not doing this?
She wanted to make sure that you are rested.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in labor for a day or two, that you can, if you can, to calm down the waves, contractions, and get yourself in the rested state so you can have at least I don't know, 3-4 hours of sleep before things pick up again.
Really, 100%.
She wanted to make sure that we can
the whole party, us and them.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, man, I just got off the phone with her. And now I'm really feeling it. I got in the bathtub, didn't help, and I'm like, all this stuff that I've learned up until that point is like, you sit with the contraction and you become like one with it, where you don't fight it, you just like
let it go.
You ease in with it. And I knew everything, what to do. I was taking this extremely seriously. I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna fuck up my entire life, never accomplish anything. I feel like I can do this. I'm gonna be honest here. So that was like really intense in the bathtub. It wasn't really working per se. Called the doula. She came over, and I got out of the bathtub, and it was getting intense. So I labored like on the couch with her, and there's this technique that you can do where she presses my hips in a certain way from behind. That I'm like on my knees on the couch, and then my hands are on like the couch arm, like bent over, and she presses, and it really works. When I'm having a contraction, it takes like so much of the aching, awkward pain off of your hips and lower back area. She presses it, and I know that he was going to take over at some point and do it because he's got more strength, obviously. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do in the whole process when you're doing it at home to ease a lot of the P word pain. I'm going to use that word on the internet. I'm supposed to kind of, but. So I guess I wanted to change of pace, and we went to the bed to like use the birth ball, because I know you can lean on the birth ball and should kind of do the same thing there. And we were doing that, but I was like sliding off the birth ball because I don't think we inflated it enough. I don't know what the deal was. It wasn't working for me. I was like, let's cut now. So I'm like, all I want to do is like lay down, thinking that'd make it easier, but it doesn't really.
Is that when we were waiting for your midwife to
come over? So we were on the couch. We called Yolandi again because like it picked up quickly after we had that phone call with her of having that conversation. And I feel like Yolandi didn't believe, well, basically my doula had to like advocate for me and tell Yolandi like, yo, get over here. Like that this is progressing fast. She didn't say it like that. She basically was like, can you come over and just check? I think Lindsay would like to have that peace of mind that like, everything's going fine, or you know, and if she's not into serious labor right now, then you can leave or whatever, and it's fine. Can you please come over? So Yolandi was like, okay. I think it kind of sucks that I felt like someone else had to convince her to come over. That was not fun to experience, but at the same time, I'm not really worried about that at the time.
That's why you have the doula. Because while you're focusing on the waves, the doula can actually think for you.
I think it's one of the biggest benefits of hiring a doula is that they can advocate for you, especially because doulas are allowed in the hospital, which is crucial when hospital staff is trying to push BS on you and you're out of it and you're drugged up and you're like, sure, whatever. The doula knows prior, like what you guys agree. Doulas come over to my home and we have this long discussion about what my preferences are. They have it all written down. They know how I want this to go down. So they can be like, no. Sierra is so professional and like very factual, like not stern, but just like, I don't know. So I think it's really important. If you don't need emotional support, like hire a doula, just do it, dude. Because they'll totally advocate for you and speak for you on your behalf, especially when you're out of it. Even if you're not out of it, they still have so much more knowledge and know how hospitals go, or like not even necessarily hospitals. They just know what they're doing, and it's so beneficial because you never do. If it's your first birth, you have no idea, like the amount of stuff that hospitals can push on you, and you're not even aware that could happen. I don't know. Anyway,
so we were waiting for the midwife to come over, and you were doing your ball.
Oh yeah.
And at the same time, I think Sierra mentioned that I should like try and set up the oh no, at first she said that like I need some rest, so like she told me like go to bed.
That's funny. I don't remember that.
Jury, go to bed because this may be a long night. We may not have any delivery tonight, so she ordered me to like get in bed. So I tried to go to bed right next to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't even know that. Oh no, I do remember that a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Sierra said that?
Sierra said that.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, she did.
What made her think that was going to happen that night?
Well, she just wanted to make sure that I'm not spending time just being awake and conserve my energy. So she kind of like lost me, which is great. I was out of it too.
Well, you weren't, not, no offense, this is an offensive thing. Like, you weren't doing anything where you didn't need to be awake at that time.
Yeah.
So like, get your rest in. It's very critical. And I was supposed to be eating and drinking during this, but I'm like, it got so intense. I'm like, even between the contractions, it was still like painful, where it's usually a period of rest. But I was so maybe focusing on it too much. I don't know, honestly. Well, it got much worse at the hospital. So anyway, so you know, the contractions picked up like crazy, and I'm like, this is insane. And I know that contractions are the most crazy feeling you've ever felt. Painful, awful, blah blah blah. Fill in the blank. Not for everyone, by the way. Especially if you do, you know, you educate yourself on this. Childbirth can be pain-free, believe it or not. Anyway, so Sierra tried doing a sideline release because she thought the baby was in a wrong, or like a certain position that was causing more pain. I couldn't even focus on that. I was like, so I'm on the edge of the bed facing out, and Sierra's standing in front of me. I lay my top leg off the bed to where it like releases something, and it could have moved the baby, but contractions were coming, and I'm like flailing and squeezing the crap out of her leg, and I'm like, I can't even focus on this right now. Like, so Yolandi was listening to the baby's heart rate, and it was dipping down, like going really slow at the end of each contraction. It would take a little bit to come back up, and she was like, maybe you're dehydrated. So they gave me an IV, and I didn't fix it. So that's what started the whole something's going on thing. Like, this is not, shouldn't be happening kind of a thing. Yeah. It wasn't an emergency per se, but it was still like, we need to keep our eye on this. Something's up.
And that's when they told me to like, hey, try and inflate the pool, try to like fill it with water. I woke up and started setting that up.
Which is a whole process in and of itself.
Them giving you an IV, because they were trying to give giving you an IV for in the middle of you trying to finish the first one.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the first one, Yolandi and Sierra both like, well, let's check how dilated you are.
Yeah.
And they wanted to check. So in the middle of them checking, I think they did end up checking, and you were one?
No, it was 2.
2 centimeters.
Which you want to get to 10. That's when like it's ready to push, or time
like
push.
1:30, 1 o'clock in the morning now.
I don't know. I'm like, this is so out of my mind, painful and insane. How in the world am I only at 2? And so I was like, just my instinct told me something is wrong. Like, something's not right. Like, I've watched a million natural at-home birth videos, and I mean, you could argue that, of course I'm going to show you the best ones. I don't think so, because I have seen ones where the ladies are like, it's intense. And one lady started crying, was like, oh, just, I don't know. I was like, man, the way I'm reacting, I didn't see any of that. It didn't feel normal. Not that I've felt this before, but like, I just felt something was up, dude, straight up. So I'm like dying. And I told Sierra, I'm like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I think I'd rather have a cesarean. She was like, whoa, like, you know, if you're doing the whole natural birthing route, the literal last thing that you would ever want to do is get a cesarean. Like, a cesarean C-section is so incredibly invasive. It cuts through like multiple layers. The healing is such a bitch, dude. Like, it puts a serious hindrance on even caring for your baby, which is awful. Let me tell you, awful. Because you want to be there and like nurse normally and have milk come in at the normal time. It just chaos. So it's wild to me that women schedule cesareans without even considering a natural birth. I think women are really cheating themselves when they do that, just because it's so normalized to like, just schedule your birth. We'll jumpstart it for you, which is just literal opposite of a natural birth. I just don't think that's right at all. You're like cheating the process. Anyway. So she was just like, wow, are you, where is this coming from? Is this coming from fear? And I was like, no, I don't know what I said, honestly, but something was up. So I was like, we got to go to the hospital, which again, for me to say, let's go to the hospital, something's up. Like, I'm telling you, I don't go through this whole I want to do a natural birth thing and just to be like, never mind. No. So I was like, we gotta fucking go. Pardon my French. I was like, we gotta go now. I was like, I'm gonna go half naked. I don't care. Don't care about bringing anything, because you're supposed to, if you go to the hospital, you're supposed to have your hospital bag prepared. to bring with you just in case you go. But I was like, I'm not going to go to the hospital. Cesarean, never going to happen to me. Both happened. So I'm like, we weren't prepared for that. But he magically gathered all this stuff within like seconds, I felt like.
Not all of it. It's like, even though it was 10 minutes, for you, it might have been seconds. But for me, it was 10 minutes of panic. Just trying to like run around. And we had some things assembled, but not for a hospital bag. Probably a recommendation, have that stuff prepared in advance, even if you're not going to the hospital. But it was, you know, like I would go from filling the pool and inflating everything to just like stopping that in midway with like a whole bunch of stuff all over the place, to grabbing the hospital, I guess, basic clothing, not even basic clothing. Somehow I managed to get some baby clothing stuffed into that bag. Some basics. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that I missed out. I ended up going back for that later. Okay. Not even the same night. It was like 24 hours later. But yeah, we piled into the cars, or I guess me and you went together, and we determined which hospital to go to.
How do we know that in advance? I think we had it like.
That was a discussion.
I think Sierra would have.
Sierra knew, and Yolandi kind of knew which one.
Okay.
And that's when they decided like that Yolandi will go with us, but Sierra won't go.
It was under my I understood the whole midwife doula thing is like all the videos I've watched is that the doula goes with you to the hospital. I thought midwives weren't even allowed because a midwife is like a doctor, so why would you have two doctors at the hospital, kind of a thing. So I'm out of it, and I see Sierra pull. We go this one way to the hospital, turn out of our neighborhood. She goes another way, and as out of it as I was like, "Where's she going? I thought she was coming with us." So apparently, Yolandi came to the hospital, which I'm like, I'd rather have Sierra. So again, I'm out of it. No control over that. It's just it is what it is. Again, I don't think Sierra's. I mean, I don't think Yolandi's a bad person. Obviously, it's just like. When she was here, I feel like she was sleepy and just like, not like, okay, we're here to do this. Like, it was just like, doing my thing. Like, again, she's still professional. I'll still say that, but it was just very nonchalant. She was like groggy and sleepy. Like, not that she should be like freaking out by any means, but I feel like she wasn't taking it serious. I don't know how to put it, honestly, how to say it. And I feel like she wanted to get the F out of there. Like, by the time she got to the hospital and she was there, she just seemed bored. You know, she was rubbing my leg during contractions, but I just feel like she was just, it didn't feel very personal.
The doula component was missing at the hospital, but the midwife component was there, which is great because
I didn't need that though. I wanted a doula.
Need that at the time.
So Sierra was also, oh gosh, a week before, or maybe a couple days before, she was like, "Hey, just a heads up, I'm getting over a cough. I'm not really sick, but I don't want you to be alerted. And if you're uncomfortable with that, Samantha can show up instead." And I was like, "It's fine, whatever, no biggie." So I think she was kind of subconsciously wanting to tell me I'm sick. Can you please have Samantha come instead? But I think she's such an overachiever in a good and bad way, maybe, that she didn't pull herself out of the situation, possibly. So, I mean, she was fine when she was here, but like she left to go get rest, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man.
Yeah, she was.
Then how would you have survived the entire? She would have tag teamed off. I think she would have called Samantha anyway. But anyway.
Which ended up happening. Samantha did end up tagging in.
Yeah, but at normal hour. Not in the middle of the night.
It was like at 5, 6 a.m. that Samantha contacted me.
Yeah, we got to the hospital and the drive there was hell because I've always heard laboring in a car is terrible, and it was definitely terrible. Like, I just remember like lifting my hips off the seat to like relieve it. The amount of hip pain that you feel with contractions is insane. Like, there's nothing that compares to it because you'll never feel that unless you're having contractions. It's wild and sitting and makes it so much worse. It was so horrible. I remember rolling down the window and being like, and then rolling back up like immediately. Anyway, we get there and it's just, dude, the contractions somehow get worse. I'm like sitting in the reception desk area where they're taking my
ER check-in
vitals, and I'm doing this like face. And there's this like glass where another lady's checking in, and I'm facing that glass behind it while they're checking me and stuff. And the lady's checking in, look at me like her face was like, and then she did this. She just goes, And I was like, cool. I felt like a zoo animal, like
Yeah.
tapping on the glass. Look at this lady in labor. Ooh, it looks horrible. Anyway, yeah, as painful as it all was, I remember like kind of all of it. Yeah. Or maybe some stuff. So I feel like that took forever because it's like early in, what time?
It was between 3 and 3:30.
Yeah. So it's just everyone's chilling at the hospital. I'm like dying, but they wheel me to a room finally. And
you expected an epidural like that moment.
Sierra was like, okay, I'm ready for it. You'll be fine. The hospital will give you an epidural as soon as you get there. Because I was like, I want an epidural. And so I get there, and it was not immediate at all. I don't know why she said that, honestly. But get me to the room, and they're just taking their sweet ass time. The guy that was doing my blood draw, they have to like draw your blood to make sure you're not allergic to the epidural or something. They draw your blood, go and run that blood and do these tests, which take apparently over an hour to do, which is like hell on earth when you're having contractions and quote dying. The guy that was pulling the blood from me like was like poking around and couldn't find the vein, and I was like, is this for real? Like, is this seriously happening? Like, can anything else happen that's going to delay the epidural? Anything else? Like, let's just go. And apparently make people laugh when I say that the guy that did that had a really nice butt. I think he was gay, but whatever. It was a nice butt. Because when I'm laying on the bed, I can like see butts. That's what the angle I'm at.
That's all you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it took forever. The epidural guy finally came. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. And after that happened, it was wonderful. I could, actually be like, whoa, hello. Well, how are you?
Yeah, within about 3 to 5 minutes, you were actually like able to talk to us.
And you have to sit up on the bed and be perfectly straight while they stick your back and put the epidural thing in. And I'm like leaning to the side, having contractions, and they're like, you need to.
You were writhing around. You were just going all over the place. Both me and Yolandi had to like hold on to because you were wailing.
Yeah, man, rough. So you had to stay still for a certain amount of time for that. And I was like, she was like, oh, it might hurt. I'm gonna stick it. I'm like, I don't care. Like the amount of pain I'm having down here there's no way this is gonna be the same. I don't even feel it. I didn't even feel it. I know that people are like, oh my god, freaky, the epidural needle is so thick. I'm like, what? I didn't feel anything. So the epidurals are quite frankly amazing. I know some natural birth women are like, absolutely not, but I'm like, dude, I totally get it. I don't judge any woman that wants it. Like at the same time, I feel like you should feel labor pains to experience it. Like, not that you have to go through all of it, but I think you should feel it. Like, then get your epidural, even whatever. So I'm like, cool, got the epidural. I'm not feeling the waves like at all. This is freaking miraculous. They put a catheter in. They did a dilation check again, and I was 6 centimeters, and I was like, sweet. I'm like, you feel the only way I'm knowing having a contraction is they have my belly hooked up with like the heart rate monitor, hearing the baby, and they can I guess the heart rate of the baby tells you the contraction is happening, I believe. Maybe my heart rate, I don't remember. Yeah. But again, his heart rate was still doing the dipping down thing, and it's freaky because the hospital room is so quiet, and the only thing you're hearing is that. So that's also really nerve-wracking, which maybe plays on my fear of like, never mind, let's just get the cesarean. I don't know, whatever. So they had a midwife come in and be like, listen,
hospital midwife.
Yeah, hospital midwife. This heart rate thing with the baby is not something that gets better on its own. So it's looking like a cesarean. And I was like, at that point, I'm just like, this totally sucks. I think I probably started tearing up. Because I was like, before that happened, she said that, I thought, oh, okay, cool, I got an epidural, like, I can still have the vaginal birth, because like, this is fine. But then they were saying that, and I was like, and I confirmed with Yolandi, because it's like a hospital staff saying that. I'm like, are they just saying that to push the cesarean crap? Because I know that they push cesareans with like every woman. Well, I don't know that every woman, but it's very common that they do unnecessary cesareans. So I basically looked over at Yolandi being like, is this legit? Like, and she's like, yeah, that's actually, like, Yolandi said that before the hospital midwife said that. So it's double confirmed. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, if the baby's heart rate is dipping down this much while I'm having contractions and I'm dilating and I haven't even gotten to 10 centimeters, then what is the heart rate of this baby going to be like when I'm actually pushing? Like, I don't think it's going to be any better. Like, I don't want to risk putting this baby in any further stress. Like, that's, it's not an emergency cesarean, but it is like, I was like, sure, like, I guess we got to do it. This sucks, but what are you going to do? So, you know, like they got me in the, what is that room called?
Which
Cesarean
room?
It doesn't matter. The
OR itself?
the OR room. They wheeled me in there pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they gave me all this stuff to like help out with nausea. Oh, a crap ton of paperwork. Oh, no, that was the paperwork that I had to sign before getting the epidural, and I'm like out of it, and just chicken scratching. And at the last signature, I like did a whole. Here's how I signed. I went because I was like,
yeah,
during a contraction.
You just drew a line across the entire piece of paper. That was your signature.
And made me do fingerprint stuff, and I'm like, is the government gonna have these fingerprints? What is this?
Yeah.
Anyway, so they wheeled me in the OR room. Everything's very bright and hustle and bustle. A lot of people in there. They put my arms out like I'm being crucified. You're not going to be crucified. They told me immediately you're not going to be strapped down. Which I'm in a Facebook group, which I'm not. I wasn't Facebook before. I'm on it now. It's like nobody kind of cares. Cesarean support group, and some women say that they do get strapped down, and I was like, oh Lord, they keep their arms out to the side. Okay. Yeah. I can't remember why. I didn't care. I was like, whatever. You know, there's like these lights above me where I'm like, I can see my stomach. Like, please tell me I'm not gonna be able to see that light reflection because I don't trust myself of looking away the whole time and not being tempted to look and see like my open cut belly. And they're like, oh, they didn't even say. Well, anyway, they put up.
There'll be a curtain.
They put up the little curtain thing where I couldn't see it anymore. I was like, oh, thank God. And so it's just stuff going on. Yolandi's there, and she was really excited because I don't think she's ever seen.
Yeah. By the way, they got clearance for her to be there. Usually
she was like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to go," because she's never been allowed back in the OR room before, but she actually got clearance to go. And I just remember looking over, and she was, while watching them cut me open and do all this stuff, she was like so fascinated, looking over the curtain. Where you're like, "Hell no!" I mean, who would want to look? It's insane.
Well, they told me to sit down. In case I want, I looked up briefly before they started, and it was like right as the surgeon was about to go to town, and I was like, I'm gonna sit down now.
Oh my gosh. Before that, he goes, well, I just pinched you and you didn't react, so I think we're ready. And I was like, a pinch is your test? I think it's gonna be more than a pinch.
Yeah.
You know, they were really nice. Whoever was above me, the nurse or whatever guy, was really nice. They were just all incredibly professional, and you know, he was like, you're going to feel some pressure, blah, blah, blah. I hear like everything going on. I didn't feel a damn thing, which is great, obviously. It smells like they use like a burning thing. I don't feel the burning, but I can smell like skin burning. I think they cauterize something when they're cutting it open or something. So, you know, I feel like pulling sensations. And I was like, it feels like Braveheart. You know, the scene in Braveheart? Didn't feel like it, but the pain didn't feel like it, but the whole like pulling thing,
tugging.
Apparently, my sister who had a cesarean said that something maybe when they were taking the baby out, it felt like there was a horse like sitting on her chest. She was like, it was horrible.
Okay.
So every woman goes through different, you know, I guess cesarean sensations as well. I didn't have that, thank God. It was like a breeze, technically. So I told the nurses that were like above my head, like just comforting me or whatever. I was like, I don't want anyone in the room to announce the sex. Oh, by the way, we didn't know the sex the entire time. I don't want anyone to announce it, except my husband. And they agreed, and that was okay. So you explain what happened.
Oh, they asked me if I wanted to take photos of it, or if they wanted to take photos of it. So like I gave the nurse the phone so she could like.
Oh, I thought that was
take photos over the.
Oh, curtain. So you weren't looking.
I looked over while she was taking photos because she probably knew that I was not going to be able to hold the phone steady. I looked over. It was a lot of work going on down there. And then I sat down again just to catch my breath. And then the surgeon like did another couple of yanks. And he was like, okay, husband, you ready to look? I was like, I stood up and I was like, there was a whole lot of mess down there. And then I looked and he was holding the little squirt over here. And
I'm like, don't say it. Should I
yeah. So I looked at it and I announced the sex, and then they like quickly transferred him.
It's fine.
They transferred him to.
Well, he got to say it. It was amazing. It was so touching. He leaned over and was like, "It's a boy," and I started crying because the whole time before we even went to the ultrasound place, I don't know. Something told me that I knew it was a boy. You know, there are some women that like instinctually just know. And at the time I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a boy, but I don't know. I will say I had crazy sexual dreams where I would orgasm in my dream, and I've heard, like literally, I've heard that means you're having a boy. There's other things that are like superstitious where I think they do check out. My sister is like, if you get more love handles, you're having a girl. I can't remember, but oi, coughing. Pick him up. Yes. Like off screen. You okay, little man? Oh goodness gracious me!
Is he okay? Does it look okay?
Yes. I say pick him up because he's still. You hear that? Here, lift him more. Hi! Look at that.
I've had a little too much.
Oh my gosh. Babies. Baby. Let's see, where was it at? Oh, telling him like what happened right after they pulled him out.
Oh yeah.
Spit up aisle baby chest.
Wow. That was damn, it was good. That's quite a projectile.
It wasn't even a projectile, it was a waterfall. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so they transferred him over to the like a cleanup station on the side, and they started cleaning him over. They wiped it down, started doing suction.
Yeah, all I heard was him cry. Well, first of all, they pulled him out, and it was an immediate cry, and I was like,
huge cry.
Hearing that is just incredible. Like you always, worry, like, oh, is the baby breathing? Like, is it alive? And you hear a big cry, and I'm like, and then I hear right after that it's a boy, and I'm like, oh, I start crying immediately. Ugh. So I hear crying, and they're like patting it. So it's like,
yeah, like, they were patting him.
But why were they patting him?
Well, they were trying to get a lot of fluid in his lungs.
Fluid in his lungs? Out?
Yeah, they were trying to get stuff out, and they noticed that when they were pulling him out, there was a bunch of meconium in the inside of you as well. Yeah. So they suspected that he swallowed some of it, and so that's why they immediately took the like a pump, and they started like pumping that out. I think they pulled out about 40 milliliters of meconium out of his stomach.
So meconium is the first bowel movement that the baby has.
Supposed to have it later, but he had it inside of you.
I feel like it's common though it's more common than you would think that babies have their. I guess it's called a bowel movement. Yeah. Yeah. Their first poo is like a really black, tarry, crazy, sticky substance. And I saw some of the photos briefly, and it's like it was everywhere, like all inside. So they're like patting that out of him, trying to get it out. So they brought him to my chest for like a second. I got to kiss him, and then he was whisked off. And I'm like, everything that I envisioned and dreamed about with natural birth is, at home, natural, calm, not this chaos of anything happening or being cut open. I get to immediately have the baby to my chest, skin to skin, which is, all of this is like so important. Maybe to other people, it's like, it's not a big deal. My baby's fine. I never had any of that. Like, but to me, this was such a huge deal of like getting that first bonding and having the baby naturally root around and find your nipple and start breastfeeding like immediately. Doing the delayed cord clamping, which is where you let all the blood come out of you through the umbilical cord into the baby, where once the cord starts turning white, then you cut it. I know hospitals cut it like after the first minute or something, and they cut off all those nutrients and iron, and you're just cutting off crazy nutrients to your baby. It's such a rushed thing. So they cut that like immediately. Apparently the placenta I had, outside of it.
We'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
But, okay. They also noticed, because they do a assessment at that cleaning station immediately. So they do a check on him, like they check his vitals. They do
like a certain number thing.
Yeah, they do. They check to see how much oxygen he's getting. So they put a little tester thing, and they noticed that his blood oxygen is pretty low. So they gave him oxygen right away. They weren't sure exactly why he wasn't getting enough oxygen. They also flipped him on the side to get the rest of the meconium out.
You had to watch all this. Like, I didn't get to watch any of this. Not that I would have wanted to. I think I would have died. Just watching a newborn baby that's so, fragile, and it's your baby. I can't believe that you watched all that go down and you kept her cool. That's insane to me. You were so brave. Honestly, I'm blown away. I had to see even more.
I think I was out of it, so I just was there.
Yeah.
And the nurse was actually really nice because she was talking me through exactly what they're doing, because they're going at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in there. Four nurses around him doing
By the way,
things.
this is at St. David's on Mopac Parkway. I can't speak enough of positive stuff about the experience. Honestly, I know a lot of women can have horrible hospital experiences with bad nurses, like my friend Ashley did. And the nurses were great. Like, I have no gripes about that hospital experience. It was actually wonderful, which shocked me and really shattered a lot of judgments I had about the hospital. I thought that was great that it broke my, hospitals always push this and they always do this and they're terrible. I'm like, that's not true at all. I'm glad I got to go through that and experience, and it also gave me crazy sympathy for women that choose a hospital, because of course, I hate to say this, but I'm like, I'm doing the natural thing. I'm better than you. But I'm like, I don't judge a woman at all anymore. Like, I totally get it. Every birth's so different. Even if you want to do your own cesarean thing, I don't agree with that, but it's your own choice, dude. Like, it's fine. If it's easier for you.
Scheduled cesarean.
Yeah, what did I say?
Your own cesarean?
Yeah.
I guess some of them are emergency, some of them are not planned, but scheduled ones, I was like,
a lot of them are because women are terrified, are literally because they're terrified. Which, anyway, so where did we leave off?
So after they did the checks, they said that we definitely need to monitor him in NICU. So that's why the NICU staff came over, transferred him over, and I went with them. So that's where
Did you know what NICU was when they said that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But before they left, they want to make sure that they took some photos with you.
Oh,
brought him. That's when they brought him over to.
Yeah.
They weren't really sure at the time exactly what was going on with him, because the blood oxygen was low, and that's the only thing they could measure at the time.
Interesting.
So they.
Oh, okay.
That's one reason they had to take him into the NICU and hook him up to the.
See what's going on.
At the time, it was a CPAP still.
Oh, okay.
First off, it was a CPAP. So they.
What is CPAP?
A little oxygen machine, that just a little mask. It's not a full mask, but it still goes over your nose and provides.
When you see the baby, when you see your beautiful little baby, newborn baby, all hosed up and stuff on it's devastating, dude.
Well, they presented him to you for the first time without any of that.
Well, yeah,
but he was about to. When they took him to NICU, yeah, because when
you saw him put it on there.
Yeah, when they got to NICU, the CPAP thing was the first thing.
Oh no, I thought you meant they did it in the OR.
No, they didn't have the gear yet.
Yeah,
they had a little oxygen thing that provided it to him, but it wasn't a formal CPAP thing.
Yeah.
At NICU,
well, they separated me and my baby. They took me to this recovery room somewhere in the hospital. And you went to NICU, so we were separated.
Yeah, NICU.
I'm so out of it though. I'm not really devastated. I'm just like, whatever, cool. Like, obviously afterwards, I'm devastated. It start coming to.
Yeah.
But I feel like
at the time you weren't even worried about that.
So what did you see in the NICU when I was getting in that room just chilling?
We went a few floors
down. Hold on. That's when Yolandi tag teamed out and was like, I'm gonna go now, and Samantha's gonna take over. And I was like, thank you. Okay, it's fine. But go ahead.
I followed the staff to NICU. They put on the CPAP machine. They put on the little tube that goes into his stomach. That was mainly to get any of the residual meconium out. And they also asked me how I would like to get him intubated, I guess, for food. So there was two options. One is through the belly button, through the umbilical cord, and the other one was to actually have a feeding tube. We went with the umbilical cord because it was still attached, and it allowed him to have one less tubes in his stomach. But at the same time, it's very serious thing. It's a serious procedure that when I wound up trying to breastfeed with them, they were real. Some of them were not okay with me even breastfeeding him at that time, because if that thing came jostled out of the umbilical cord area, it's very serious. It's really bad if it gets dislodged or something. Again, it's literally a tube coming out of the baby's belly button to these machines. But it's easier to provide the nutrition to him. It's more immediate. Obviously, they weren't able to get one of the tubes for the one of the tubes ends, but the one that mattered, which is the one that provided him with food, the IV was actually successful. So, but of course, the only thing I was able to say is like, yes, please do that. They didn't. I wasn't there to see them insert that because they had to. We had a separate room for him, but they asked me to like leave the room, and because not only me, but also like half of the nurses had to leave the room so they could do a sterile operation to insert it.
Yeah.
Like that room was sealed off. They sterilized the entire room.
It seems like that was a new procedure that they recently started kind of doing that. I'm not sure.
Anyway. I don't know, but it was very useful because it was immediate nutrition for him.
Yeah.
But one thing that they did also is they did an X-ray or an ultrasound. I can't remember. Well, they did one or the other to figure out why he was not getting enough oxygen. Also, they noticed that he was breathing using his abdominal muscles instead of his rib cage. And after they did pretty sure it was an X-ray, they found out that he had pocket of air that was surrounding one of his lungs, and that caused the heart and the other lung to be pushed over to the side. So at the time they didn't know, but it looks like what happened is because he swallowed some meconium, some of it went into his belly, into his stomach, and some of them may have coated his one of his lobes in the lung.
He's looking at the baby right now as he's describing it.
Yes. And then when he was delivered in the OR, his first gasp of air, he decided to breathe really openly and fully, and he only inflated one of the lungs and not the other. And the one that he did inflate with oxygen, he gasped too much air in it. Yes, you did. Which caused the lung to develop these little punctures where the air goes into the lung, out through those punctures, and then starts surrounding the pocket. So that caused them some discomfort. So immediately when they did, after the X-ray, they poked a needle in it and removed some of the air around it, and that gave him
a needle in his chest.
Yes, the temporary. They said there was no need for a permanent needle for a.
Where was it? There's no way I could have watched it. Did you watch him do that?
No, I was like, because they had to make sure that was a sterile procedure also. So they removed the oxygen, and immediately he got a lot of color in the rest of his body. And his oxygen saturation went up to 75%, which is great. So at the time I went to see you. I went to see you in recovery room while they were doing that. That's when I got to see the placenta in the bag in a station. Because
I was like, can you double check that we can't take the placenta home and do the encapsulation? And one of the ladies is like, you know what, maybe we can, let's try. But then the lady in the room was like, nope, we can't. They were like, we had to send it off, to cut a piece of it off to test the placenta to like find out but not find out what it is. It's so bizarre. Like he said there was an infection. He said he could smell it. I don't know how you can smell it over meconium, but I guess you can. So that was kind of weird. Well, I don't know. Like, we never got confirmation like what it was to this day. We were just told it was an infection. Like, what kind of infection? I don't know. Like, I looked up what they said it was. Something amniotic.
Or something.
Yeah, I forgot. I wrote it down, but I looked it up what they said it was, and I had none of those side effects or symptoms. And I'm like, not that I'm thinking a hospital lie about that, and I trust them, but it's just a lot of unanswered questions. Like, what was that? Like, it's just all I know is an infection outside the placenta, which I think is what caused the crazy, awful contractions.
Yeah.
Who confirmed that?
We got I think one of the nurses said that they got the results, and the only thing they were able to see is the outer lining of the placenta was inflamed, which is signs of early infection, and your next symptom would likely to be fever.
Yeah, which is obviously infection stuff. So I think that's definitely what caused the, there's nothing for me to compare it by. Like, I've only had contractions once, and I had somebody. Of course, when things don't go to plan during the whole childbirth thing, you start questioning yourself. Like, at least I was like, am I a wuss? Was I not able to handle it? was the fact that I was not settling into the contractions and waves, contributing to my baby's heart rate dipping. Like, was this my fault? It's a lot of like, did I mess up thing? You know, I don't think so. I think, I don't know. Because I know that, like, I just felt like a failure, dude. It totally sucked. I really, like, the whole postpartum depression thing, like, I totally get that. I was in a bad place afterwards. Like, I never knew that you go through crazy hormones after you give birth. I struggle calling it giving birth, too, because wasn't giving birth. It was just pulled out of me. But the amount of emotions you go through is freaking insane. Like, everything feels very serious and end of the worldy, and just, it's wild, dude. It is wild. I'm just like, you know, women that go through it or will be going through it, like, you're not alone. Like, hold out, you're fine. It's normal. It's just a lot of stuff I was never told about childbirth happened. So I think we're getting too much detail. It might be boring, but Samantha came and she was super helpful and brought you a sandwich, and I was like, oh, I want to eat, but I couldn't eat or something. Oh, I can only have like a liquid diet. She brought gummy bears too. I still have. Then they wheeled me to the like actual hospital room. Yeah. By the way, we had an awesome hospital room. It was like the corner unit, and it was huge, and I like wound up loving that room. Like, it was just him and I working together on like the whole NICU thing, which every 3 hours. Okay, first off, we were upstairs. Apparently the normal recovery rooms are on the same level as a NICU, but we were like in the overflow rooms on like this other unit. It's not even post childbirth. It was like the section we were in had nothing to do with childbirth. So we had to, like, every 3 hours we had to go down to the NICU, go downstairs. It's like a maze. This whole hospital is like a freaking labyrinth. I kid you not. So we get to the NICU, you know, for every 3 hours to do what's called touch time, where they do like procedural stuff where if I want to do breastfeeding, that's the time I have to go, because you don't want to interrupt the baby too much with like touching and getting them off the table or whatever. You just want to leave them alone. Like, so like when they're maneuvering around him and doing procedural stuff, which isn't like serious stuff, just checking on him and stuff, that's the time for me to go and do breastfeeding if I wanted to, and skin to skin, which is really important to get your milk supply going as well. So every 3 hours throughout the night and day, you were going down to NICU, and we're like tracking the colostrum, how much I'm pulling out. Like,
I have to get that delivered to them. So after we do the touch time, after you do the, at the time you weren't really breastfeeding, but you were at least trying to.
Oh, because he was so sleepy, and I've heard after you get an epidural, babies are really sleepy, and it's really hard to breastfeed. I guess after cesareans. I don't know if it's because of epidural. I think it's epidural and cesarean. So my milk supply was insanely delayed. Like, I just thought all this was going to go fine. Like, okay, this all sucked and didn't work out. And I'm like, oh, sure, the breastfeeding's going to be fine. Like, that's the most natural thing on the planet. Nope. Like my milk was like a week late. We had like a million lactation consultants come in and help us out. There's like a million people that pop into your room when you're recovering in your hospital room. Like, it feels endless. Like, just random people, not even nurses, but just like lactation consultants and like some midwife lady just talking about anything and everything. And I'm like, where am I? Who are you? What? And I don't retain any of this information, by the way. It's kind of weird they even come in. I'm like, what's the point? I don't remember any of it. So like, if you have any issues with breastfeeding, contact us later. I get home and I'm like, how do I contact them? There is no information.
None of them left any contact information.
None. Like, not even the doctor's number or any. Like, if I had an issue with, like, I don't know, healing,
anything,
there's no number for me to call, which I had issues with healing, let me tell you. If you need a break, by the way, like, let me know. I can get like water or something. Okay. So where do I go with that? Oh, the room recovery. Yeah. So that was obviously exhausting, and he would wheel me around in the wheelchair because, you know, the whole healing thing from cesarean is insane. I know women have issues with having the epidural and like walking afterwards, but I wasn't bad at all. Like, the nurse was like, "Wow, you're, you know, impressive." It does feel kind of numb, like getting up to walk, and you have to go really slow. Everything is like really slow. Where I feel like the world around me, everyone was like on crack and moving really fast, and I'm just like, what? Like, I think it's also the drugs too. I was on Oxy, Codone, which the nickname is Roxy, which I thought was like the street term. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm like, give me the highest, because you can do 5 or 10 something. And I was like 10,
dosage,
and you're only supposed to get 10 unless you're like, every time the nurse comes in, like, what's your pain level? And I'm like, I always was like, it's higher than, because I don't want them to not take me seriously, so I would say it's higher than what I maybe thought it was, but whatever. Because I'm like, I don't want to feel any pain, so give me the highest, damn it, which also makes you really sleepy. So yeah, we would go down and do the touch time, and
that routine was brutal.
Yeah.
So you were in the hospital in total for
4 days.
4 days, and he was in NICU for 5 days.
Yeah.
So over those 4 days, I think those were the like slowest 4 days. It was like a slog to try to get to every feed every 3 hours, because it's touch time.
Some water.
Yeah, it was touch time, and then you would spend an hour there, and then if you're pumping, that's another 30 minutes if you're pumping there. Then we'd come back to our room. So traveling there and back as a round trip is another 30 minutes. That would leave us about an hour in our room. And then, yeah, we would usually spend either eating and then 30 minutes worth of sleep. So that routine would repeat for 4 days. I think that definitely not unexpected behavior. I didn't expect to sit or sleep through that. I don't even know what state I was in going through that. But we kind of got a handle on it, but at the same time we didn't, because it was like we were getting less and less. We're getting less and less energy. So by the 4th day, I think I picked up a cold or something. By the morning of the 4th day, I picked up a cold, or what ended up being a strep throat. And I had to.
Strep though?
It felt like it. It was like razor blades on the back of my throat.
So this is more crap that was thrown at us. So I'll explain that in a second.
So day 4, we know. Day 4, we know we're gonna check out by the end of day 4, and then the morning
I'm
of
like,
day
yay,
4,
it's the last day. Woo!
I picked that up and I have to go. I have to leave because I didn't want to get anybody else sick.
He was like writing down the whole colostrum numbers that we send to the NICU that they give our baby, which helps out immensely. With like just antibodies and whatnot. And he's filling out the paperwork, and you thought you were sick because you were already wearing a mask. Remember? And
I was telling you, I was like, I feel sick.
And I saw his eye was like inflamed or just like blown up, and I was like, because you sneezed, and I was like, oh my god, wait a minute, you're actually sick.
Yes.
You cannot be going to NICU.
No, there's no way I would pass the test.
I was like, you're not allowed in there. So then I was like, I freaked out, because I was like, he is my rock the entire time. We've been doing this awesome tag team effort, making each other laugh, and I was like, dude, the last day he had to go check into a hospital. I mean, not hospital. God,
no hotel.
A hotel to like recover.
Because they couldn't go home because your parents were staying at home. I didn't want to get them sick.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize.
So that's why I checked into the
hotel nearby.
Yeah.
So he recovered in a hotel, and I was like, I freaked out. Being like, oh my god, I can't do this on my own. Like, how do you even wash the breast pump parts? And like, it was just a lot of stuff that he was doing so much, and I felt so alone. My parents weren't there for me, and it was like I was wigging out. Plus, it's all the hormones going on. Like, I'm not being rational. So finally, I was like, suck it up. As he left, and I was like crying to myself. It just felt really devastating. Again, the hormones. I can't emphasize enough how devastating things feel with all the hormone stuff going on. So I was like, suck it up. There's nothing you can do. I was like praying, listening to Christian music, and I was like, all right, there's no choice I have, but I just have to do this on myself. So it was wonderful. I had 2 ladies from a small group come in that day and like just hear me out, and it's having like family drama, which was like so much more crap adding to my mental state, which also does not help your milk to come in when you're stressed out. Your milk is going to be affected. Okay. Yeah. Like you shouldn't be crying, and I'm not saying hold back your emotions, but like, I don't know. I was like wailing, crying, and this like lady came in, was like slowly handing me these tissues. And I was like, and I told her all this stuff about my family not or like being there for me. And I don't know, it was just interesting and funny. But she's like, "Are you okay?" Anyway, you know, while just so much stress going on, dude. Like none of this went to plan. Add family stress. Add my husband leaving the last day, and I feel super alone. Add on my baby's in the freaking NICU. Just it was everything came crashing down. So yeah, the ladies from a small group were wonderful, and they brought like they went and got me food and like brought not balloons but like flowers and just were so helpful. Like it's wonderful. Whereas my mom would just want to sit there and gossip and not help at all. Anyway, hashtag family.
Yes.
So I checked out that evening, and my friend Jessica helped me clear my room and get packed up and ready to go. And it was like bittersweet leaving, just because it was like the whole experience was not what I wanted, but I like weirdly enjoyed it. It was like a total. Yeah. We like bonded like crazy. Like it was such a wonderful experience. We saw God work so many miracles. Like I had a moment where like they were during the touch time, they were like working on him. Oh, I came into the room and she was like, the nurse was kind of frantic in the NICU room he was in and was like, "Oh my God, he spit up blood." And she was like, she said it, I remember she said it was like red blood, like new blood. And I was like, "Oh my God, something new is going on." I was like, so I felt like we were progressing and everything was going fine. And then we heard that and I was like, what? So of course, like they're doing procedures on him and they're like, "You can't breastfeed right now because we have to figure out what's going on." And I'm like, I started breaking down crying in the room because it just was seeing him like that was just awful. So I'm like, I prayed out loud, and I swear to you that day, like all these issues that were going on with our child, like were lifted. They were like, "Oh, this cleared out. This is fine. This is fine. We could take him off this." And it was just such a clear example of God working absolute miracles, like undeniably so. It was so obvious to me that that was God's hand at that. It was mind-blowing and just so humbling and wonderful to see God work through this entire process. And I really firmly believe that God had us go through such trials like this to see him move and work. Is he what's going on? Wailing? Maybe give him to Larissa? I don't know. Anyhow, where else am I going with this? Let's see.
I mean, yeah, he still had one more day at the time. So you actually checked out. I was able to pick you up, but you checked out like right as Austin area is trying to deal with like a cold snap.
Oh, this was like
freezing cold.
Got really cold in Austin. Like, I mean, cold front like crazy.
It's like below freezing for 4 days, but
it's insane.
He was progressing, actually. You made a point. He was progressing well. Like, he was on CPAP for 2 days. Then they switched to a little, like, tube. The air around his lung was, like, reducing in size. He was getting less white blood cell count. He was getting more sugar. His blood sugar was getting better. Then they took off the little, like, tiny tube. So he was breathing on his own. He was down to just the IV in his belly.
Yeah,
like, everything else was taken out by day 4.
It's exciting to get to that point where like it's almost ready time to go home.
Yeah,
they had to start him on formula, which is also devastating to me. There's just so many things that like I would have never dreamed that I had to do that, but like you just gotta roll with it and be like, I'm not comfortable with this, but I know it's what we got to do to get him out of the NICU. And hospitals always push formula on babies, like no matter what. So I'm like, just roll with it if that happens to you. Like, just know that when you get home, you don't have to do the formula. Like whatever happens. We're still on formula. We supplement half and half, kind of. Actually, less formula now, but
yes.
So let's kind of fast forward some here. It's almost 2
hours. After we checked out, we had enough. We had enough of your milk bill so we didn't have to come back to the hospital like at 3 a.m. and at 6 a.m. or something like that, or midnight and 3. So rest. We found out that we had no hot water because the pipes were frozen. Fortunately, we had power.
Yeah, it was insane. We're driving home. We're like, oh my God, all the lights are out in our city that we're in. And I'm like, are you serious? This as well? Come on, man. We can't get a break.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank God our neighborhood lights and stuff were on. Thank God.
We checked out, spent the night. We came back that morning. And so like Friday is essentially the entire day we spent living out of the car because we couldn't go back home because we have a 3-hour.
We could, but it's too far. It's not worth it.
It's like you go there for a feed, let's say at 9 o'clock, and it takes you an hour to do the feed, and then you get out at 10, and then it takes us 30 minutes round trip to get home and back. So we'd be here for maybe an hour at most. So it was not practical to come back here. So we ended up living out of the car for that day until evening when he got checked out of the NICU. So you'd go in, I would go shopping for food, and when you'd come back out, you would eat, and then you would sleep, and then you get back in.
It was brutal. Insane. I really remember, but it was nuts.
All during the cold.
So of course it's going to affect, it's going to affect my milk supply. It was nuts. So whatever, all I cared about is getting him out of there. And so last day he still couldn't, go because of his being sick. So in the evening, we got the green light to go home, which is wonderful, marvelous. I guess what was the last thing that he got taken off of?
Making sure that he gets enough food.
Oh, his blood sugar,
and he can formally eat from formula at least. Get enough formula.
I'm not a fan of American formula. It's garbage, it's crap. I think it's what gives your kid like half the allergies and sicknesses. Just not a fan of American formula. So we're still supplementing with a German formula that's definitely more expensive, but I think it's still worth it. I'd rather trust anything outside of America because the standards for formula or food in general here in America sucks ass. So
if the formula somehow does not need to be refrigerated and it has a perfect life, like you can keep it outside of the fridge forever, like I have a problem with that. Like, what kind of formula is this?
That's really weird. Because the formula that we mixed, the powder stuff, it's supposed to only be out for like an hour, but the stuff that's already like a liquid form that they give you for free from the hospital, it doesn't go bad. I'm like, what?
And it has years of expiration time.
I'm like, I've known that formula, that brands like Enfamil and what's the other one? There's another one. Just the ones that are like mainstream, like do not trust.
The one that we have?
Yeah.
Similac?
Oh yeah. I'm like, obviously it was just painful to watch them put that crap in my baby's body too.
You don't really have a choice when you're in the hospital. It's like, that was a downside. I was like, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we got to take our baby home and it was marvelous.
The schedule was much better. We still try to stick around to feeding him frequently, but until we saw the lactation consultant, we didn't really know what we were doing.
Oh yeah, my Pure Delivery, shout out. They're amazing. So we got to go to a local lactation consultant and they helped us out with like everything, like, because obviously like I was pumping like once a day, which is insane. To keep up your milk supply, you got to pump like 8 times a day. It's intense. And we were doing triple feedings, which is also very intense in a labor of love. We're waking up every 3 hours to, I put him on the breast, both one breast 10 minutes, one breast another 10 minutes, give the baby to him to do the bottle, like the previous session of pumping. I give him my breast milk and then some other supplementing with formula. And then I pump for, the next session just to also keep my supply up.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole breast pump story. When I came home that one evening, when he was still in the NICU, I tried to pump to get some colostrum or something, or get the milk going. The Motif Luna that I had gotten for free through insurance, which is great, produced nothing. Meanwhile, I'm using Medela Symphony at the hospital, which was great for me, where I was actually getting stuff out. But everything felt devastating, like nothing was working. So we wound up buying, I don't know why this is important, but I wound up buying a used Medela Symphony that they use in the hospital. It's $2,000.
We didn't pay $2,000.
No,
we got
a used one on eBay for $700. Still crazy expensive. And I was like, I do not blow money like that, like ever. But I was like, I'm desperate. And you get used to the hospital one. I wound up falling in love with it. I freaking love it. Like I'm able to produce milk now with the Motif Luna, but like the Medela is still top tier, like Mercedes. No, what is Lamborghini level of breast pumps, dude? For me personally, like the ease at which it's compact, and there's so many things I love about it.
It's well built.
I could do a whole video about that alone. But
well built, good plastics. I mean,
it's always men that invent and are great at like women's stuff. Like it's a dude that invented that.
Oh.
Yeah. So Book supply took forever to come in. I still don't think it's. I'm not pumping enough. You know, it's still not. I don't know. I was hoping to do exclusively like breastfed, which is or like milk, breast milk only, but that's not happening. It is what it is. Like more stuff I'm uncomfortable with, and I thought would be going a different way, but I don't know. It's just I don't know. I think God is just putting me outside my comfort zone, but like in good ways because it has me grow as a person.
That challenge started when you went into labor.
Yeah, for real.
Everything up until then was smooth sailing, and then from that point on, it's like you try to plan for everything. It's like no, nothing. I don't think a single thing that we try to plan, even after the things are happening, we're still try to plan, and even those things don't come together.
Which also had me super depressed. Right, I feel like a total failure. And Samantha came for like a couple hours, and I was still having family drama at the time. Go to that whole
story. It was like a week after discharge.
She was wonderful, and she helped me like stuff that I didn't know what would be beneficial, like getting a pumping bra. I took a nap for like the first time as she held the baby, which was marvelous. She just kind of like eased my brain and was an emotional support person for me. She was there to like listen to me, and I don't know, she was great.
But just settled you down because you still had a lot of anxiety, and she actually like take you to calm down for a moment, not to be so frantic, and like do one thing at a time. Like schedule this, purchase that.
And she was calm the entire time, you know, obviously.
Yeah,
which helps me out. It doesn't add to my stress.
It was very useful. Like
it was awesome.
It's the kind of presence that you need. I think you
at a really critical time in your life that I'll never forget. Like I will never forget. What is that Maya Angelou quote? It's like you won't remember what the people said to you. You won't remember something where they gave you, but you'll always remember how they made you feel. It's a great quote, and I definitely that definitely played out. Where like I would never forget how wonderful my two small group ladies were that came to the hospital. Like they were just. It's like my family couldn't be there for me emotionally, or even like helping out with stuff in the hospital, or even at home here. But like I got to see the hands and feet of Jesus, as I put it, with my small group people coming in and like being there for me when my own family couldn't be there for me. So again, it was more displays of like I wouldn't have seen how God could bless me in those ways if I didn't go through all this. If I didn't have my family be crappy or even be in the hospital, if I didn't have all this stuff happen, A to B, B to C, whatever, then I wouldn't have seen God's glory and like just total blessings happen. So I think all this stuff happened for an absolute purpose. It adds to my testimony of my life of God really showing himself. And there's a wonderful Bible verse that like, I forgot what it's called. God works his best like during your weakness. And it's so true. Cause like, if you're living your life, very comfortable and you don't have any issues going on, you know, if this was all happened just normal, you know, I maybe wouldn't have seen God work so much, and I wouldn't have had to rely on him and rely on prayer and seen those prayers be answered. I wouldn't have been blessed and touched in so many ways. So I feel like I would have been missing out. So I think God definitely had me go through this troublesome times too, so he could show himself and not really test me to see if I'll rely on him, but maybe it was. I don't know, because I don't like to put it like God's testing everyone. But, you know, I think that when you start relying on God in dire situations, that's when he's like, all right, you're calling on me. Like, let's go. Like I'm telling you, once you rely on God, especially in your worst times, that's when he really shines. Because I just feel like, I don't know, it's in the Bible. Like, it's just, all this stuff is like so, I know it probably sounds hokey to people that don't believe, and I get it. Because it's just like, wow, you sound crazy or whatever. But I'm like, dude, once you start reading Bible verses and you like start actually having like a mustard seed of faith, which is also in the Bible, all God needs out of you for him to work in your life is literally the smallest amount of faith in him. It's also in the Bible. It's called like a mustard seed of faith. I don't know what's going with that other than it's all so biblical. Like so many Bible verses are still applicable to my life. It's just once you start reading the Bible for yourself, you start understanding life more, and life starts making a lot more sense, and it's much more of a relief making sense out of life, because a lot of times you're like, what the hell's going on? Like I don't know you just kind of float, especially if you're not living with God. Like, it's just, I don't know how, you don't know how much you're missing when you don't have God in your life. Because I think a lot of people cope and they're like, oh, I'm fine, like I'm successful, have this and this, my life is awesome. But like, you just don't realize what a life with God is until you start living a life with them, and it's just so different. I'm not trying to say it to be like, oh, I'm better than anyone, but it's so beneficial. Like, I'm such a different person from when I was in California to now, obviously. On a God tangent here, but I usually do that at the end of the episodes.
Yeah, it's good talk. I think that covers it.
Covers a lot of it. There's so much more I could say, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I need to implement that in my episodes where I'm like, in the middle of it, say, leave a comment below.
Oh, well, I'm sure people have a lot of questions about what we're covering.
Yeah, if you got to this point, that's what I mean. Like, say that before you get to the end. Yeah, I feel like it was boring, but I don't know.
It's a story. They don't have to be all exciting. It's just these things happen, and if it helps somebody to not feel alone, that messy things happen when you least expect it. Exactly. And if it helps somebody to live through their life, then it's great.
Yeah. Like I'm leaving out so much stuff. I don't know.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching and listening. If y'all have any issues or going through your own labor or any questions about, hypnobirthing or whatnot, you can hit me up. Where? I'm like, oh my God, I still have my subscribe star. I still have my subscribe star.com/distorted Linds, which I haven't updated. So you could just, support me there and not care about the updates. It's a possibility. Anyway, I miss doing this, but having a baby is obviously a priority, and I feel bad for like not being around him this whole 2 hours. But anywho, yeah. Anything else you want to say?
No. Thank you for listening.
Yes. Like, we're tired. We're just like, what? Where am I?
We're less tired than we were.
Yeah, for real. Okay. See you later, party peoples.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.